I'm Cherie, and I usually say I'm with BBR Creative, but today I have on my Tea Tiny House hat. So George Marks asked me to speak to you guys, along with Beth Guidry, who's with Economic Development at St. Martin Parish, and tell you a little bit about what we're doing with Tea Tiny Houses, and to actually tell you about the opportunities that we see from an economic development perspective of how both parishes, St. Martin and St. Landry in particular, could potentially be engaged with the tiny house movement, and that potentially be an economic driver. So I'm going to kind of run through a little bit of a history of our business that we're just getting started, and some of the things the models we'll be building, and then talk about the opportunities. I don't think I have a clicker, so I'm going to just... So, our Tea Tiny House business is the first of its kind in Louisiana. There is no official tiny house business in the state of Louisiana until now. I found a lot of... Oh. Okay. There are a lot of, I found several people who actually have built their own tiny house, but as far as an actual business and a construction facility that you can come in and pick a model and buy, I have not found that to date. So I'm claiming that we're the first, and I believe I'm right. So just a little bit about what is a tiny house for those of you who may not know. It's a typical small house that's between 100 and 400 square feet. They come in all shapes, forms, and sizes. There are a lot of different, there's a large variety of different kinds of tiny houses, but the key is they're very small, under 400 square feet. And they enable people to live a simpler life in a smaller, more efficient space. So everything has a place, and you can build them on trailers, and they can be movable, or you can build them on a foundation. Our business will be focused on building on trailers. The tiny house movement as a whole, when you start researching it, it's huge around the country. And of course, it had to do a lot with the television shows that are on tiny house building and things like that. But I think more importantly, the popular reasons that people are interested in tiny houses have to do with environmental concerns, financial concerns, and their desire to live a simpler life, something that's more sustainable for the long term. So the trend is obviously growing around the country, and the way that we got started with this is that George recognized that my husband's family owned a vacant lot, lumber yard here in Arneville, and he knew that I was in marketing, and he knew that my husband was a residential contractor, and NUNU had built a small tiny house, and people would stop and want to buy it. And because it was part of a grant program, that he couldn't sell it, and he said, listen, I think there's an opportunity to do this here in St. Martin Parish. Arneville sits on the border of both St. Landry Parish and St. Martin Parish. Our business happens to be on the St. Martin Parish side. So I think one of the reasons, well, there's a trend, I'm not saying this is the reason, but something that helped perpetuate the trend, or all these programs on television that people are just fascinated by, on building tiny houses, looking for tiny houses, and so that's caused a lot of interest, I think. When you research festivals, there are tiny house festivals all across the country. My children both live in Atlanta and in Decatur, Georgia last spring. My daughter and son went to one. There were 2,500 people there who paid $25 a head to just walk through 10 tiny houses that were on display. And of course there was music and food and that kind of thing. So other builders of tiny houses come to one location, bring sample models, and some people pay just to go walk through them and see them. So there's a whole life around just the festival idea. There are certifications now that are afforded to tiny house builders, as well as associations and certifications. And we're still in the process of determining what certification we're going to actually adhere to. But the RVIA is a certification for recreation vehicles that also apply to tiny houses. And NOAA is a newer one that's basically a combination, like a hybrid, a certification that has to do with residential contracting and this whole new world of tiny house building, because there is not a lot of code surrounding the tiny house build. There are also multiple publications out there on tiny houses, many blogs, just lots of information, and I've read, and I don't have the exact stat, but when I first started researching this, I found this group that had a tiny house community, like an association of sorts, with an email and an email newsletter that went out. And the guy said, you know, when we started, we had 200 people that were following us, and now we have, like within 2 years, they have thousands of people following. So there's lots of interest in this movement. So these are some examples. We have not yet built our first tiny house. We're going to be starting it very soon. But these are, I wanted to show the audience a few examples of what tiny houses look like, because there are various types. So these sort of look more cottagey and a little rustic. Then you have some that look like American craftsmen, more of a typical cottage home. So they have that style. They have more of a modern style. They have lots of them that look very modern. And some more. These are two that I really liked as well. And all of these are built on trailers. This is kind of washed out, but this is an example of an interior. So the interiors of tiny houses look a whole lot more like a house than they do like an RV. This one you can't see very well, but it has a loft and a living room. This one you can see a little bit better. This is probably a little smaller model, but it has a loft and you have a bed up there and a little kitchen, a living room. So at Tiny Houses here in Orneville, we're actually committed to providing an alternative housing concept that would provide people with an option for home ownership that's affordable, and this retail product is currently unavailable in the state of Louisiana. So, like I said, we are the first official tiny house business. This is a mock-up of what we envision. We're going to be redoing the facade of the old lumber yard, Gulf South Lumber, which is down Highway, Rodier Highway, and having a new sign. So we're doing some minor modifications to the outside, because the real work is going to be inside of a big, Ted calls it the facility floor, a big warehouse, so that we can build up to 2 to 3 tiny houses at a time. We're a family-owned and operated business, and I think one of our big commitments as a family and for the folks that we've partnered with to help us with this project is to make a positive social, cultural, and environmental impact on our community. I mean, we're more than just building a house. We're about contributing to the cultural economy, social issues, that type of thing. And so, when I was putting this presentation together, I soon realized when I listed all of our subcontractors and partners in this project that we all are operated by families of Louisiana French descent. And that was really interesting to me because, we have I have a list to show you. So it's kind of nice because I think it ties into the whole promotion of the culture, of our French culture and heritage. Because there is a lot of talent here, and we're fortunate, but in this area, there's a lot of talent when it comes to construction, building, art, all of those kinds of things. And many of my husband's subs who have been doing work for him for years and building houses are all of French descent. I don't have to spend too much time on this, but this is my family, and myself, my husband, and my 2 children are really interested in this project, and they each have a role in helping develop the project. And My husband is going to actually offer more of the construction lead type work. He actually is a specialty wholesale lumber sales manager. But he knows a lot about building, and he has his residential contracting license. This is my mother-in-law and father-in-law, and I put them in there because they own the property out here. My father-in-law has to date designed 34 tiny houses, and he has them in a book, and he's just been so passionate. And my mother-in-law is a wonderful cook, and I told her that as soon as the building's ready, she can be the beignet maker, and she can make coffee and beignets, and that's going to be our signature item. And so she's really nervous about this, but I told her she could do it. And this is our friends, Ted Rodier. Ted has agreed to be our project manager, and he's been awesome, and he's come on board to help facilitate the build, and he has lots of years of experience in construction. And his wife, Pat, I had to include her. Ted, you'll see I put trusted advisor, because Pat gives her opinion about a lot of things, and she works with the city in procurement, and so she's like, she asked me questions. I'm like, I don't have the answer to that yet. And these are their 3 sons. He gave me his family picture, but there were so many of them. I was like, oh man, can I put all those? I said, we can have a whole workforce with just his family. So Ted's going to be leading this project out here, because Jimmy and I both have full-time jobs other places, and Ted's really going to be the person who runs this business. And thank goodness he knows a whole lot about building. And this is a little interesting part, I thought, our subcontractors and vendors and partners. We have Ornos, Rodiers, Dugas, Frugés, Guidrys, Aviers, Reshorts, and Robans working on this project. And I thought that was, because I couldn't actually find somebody who's working on the project who didn't have an Acadian surname, so that was interesting. So the thing that's going to kind of set us apart is that each one of our houses will be handcrafted, and they're going to be built one at a time, handcrafted, and we're going to use the highest quality materials, and our goal is to build houses that last. So people ask me all the time, what's the difference between this and an RV? Well, RVs are still the best thing for, if you're going to travel the country, you don't want to buy a tiny house and travel the country. You want to buy an RV. But if you want to have a small house to live in permanently, and I don't know I cannot find any information on the appreciation value of them yet. I don't think that that's really, like, nobody's tracking it, but I would think that these can appreciate rather than depreciate just because they're so much like a house. Oh, something happened in my text. Well, artist at work created this. I said, I want a stamp that said these are made with Louisiana love. And so he made this little logo for me, because I think that we, as a group, really are passionate about producing a good product that people are going to, your home is so personal, and where you plant yourself is so personal. So I'm really passionate about the idea that I want to build things that I would live in. I don't want to build something just to make money. I want to build something that I would be comfortable being in. I'm so glad Mr. Bill came, because I have a section for him. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so we're going to offer 5 base models to start out with upon launch of the business, and customers can select one of the models, and then they can customize from there. We're not going to be offering, we're not going to be doing custom builds in terms of you. At this point in time, you're not going to be able to bring a plan to us and we're going to build your house. You're going to have to start with one of our 5 plans and then customize from there. Just for the efficiency of it, and because there's so much to it when it comes to the electrical systems and the utilities and things like that, we have to perfect that. Our initial models will be built on 2 trailer lengths. We have a couple that are designed for an 8 by 20 foot trailer, and a few that on the 8 by 24 foot trailer, and they can be pulled by a 3/4 or 1 ton pickup truck. We're going to create them so they can operate on and off the grid. So for the most part, they'll be electric, but you can also convert to a generator. Ted would have to talk about the really deep questions that have to do with gray water and stuff. Okay, so the hours were going to range from 200 to 280 square feet, and our base price range is going to run from $50,000 to $70,000. And I'm going to just run you through the first 3 models that we have designed so far, and then after that I'm going to talk to you about the opportunities for our parishes and the economy. So our first one is called the Zombreker, and this was designed by 2 young architects in Lafayette, the Zombrekers, and this is on our Facebook page. We have a video of this unit if you'd like to see. It's very nice. And so this is a cutaway. So inside, we're going to have a loft bedroom. There's a lot of storage in that platform area. Then there's a washer and dryer next to the TV in that stairwell. Something's happening to my screen and it's kind of compressed this way. Full kitchen, refrigerator, bathroom. There's a little attic space on the right. And then this is the flip side, which is sofa, storage on either side. Because we've learned that even though tiny houses are tiny, people need storage. You still need the amenities of a regular home. People still want a washer and dryer. They still need storage, closet space, that kind of thing. Our next one, Francisco, this one was designed by a UL architect student who's a 5th-year architect student, and he's from Guatemala. And he first was just going to redesign one of Mr. Avier's plans so I can have it in 3D. And he started with Mr. Avier's, and then he modernized the exterior. And this is actually could be used as a studio because it has a kitchen, it has a little living room, and a convertible sofa bed. And the flip side, let me see, I think this shows better, but it's a television, and this desk turns into a table, and there's a lot of light in there, and then a convertible bed. I imagine this would be great for one person. Like if you needed a studio space, or you were in college, or a single person. And that's a view of the kitchen going into the living room. And then the third one that we have finished is the Lambert, and this was also taking one of Mr. Avier's designs and having an architect student convert it into 3D renderings. It's blown out. This is a little blue house, but you can't tell that it's blue right now. It looks white. Let me get to the floor plan. So it's one big room, living area to the left, kitchen to the right, top right, closet, bathroom, loft, bedroom. And I think you can see it better. Oh, I don't have my nice little renderings on the inside. Oh, going the wrong way. Hold on. So on our Facebook page, we have that. So our construction start date is this month. Oh. And I called Ted this morning because I was so excited because it's taken us a while because we both have full-time jobs and I have another business just to get all of this together. But this morning I got my lending approved and I was so excited because that's taken a while to do. Writing a business plan is a big job, by the way. And so Farmers and Merchants Bank is going to be our bank, and they have approved our lending, and they want to be a partner with us to offer financing for people who want to buy these. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm excited, I really wanted them to be our partner because I wanted a partner from St. Martin Parish, and I wanted a partner that knew the rural area, and I wanted to shop local, and so it worked out for both of us. So now I just want to talk to you. The purpose of this is just a conversation, and hopefully when you leave here, you'll have conversations with other people about the opportunity that I personally have uncovered when I was researching this. Because when George presented this idea to us, we didn't know anything about tiny houses. And as I started researching it, some of you have heard this story, but I went online and I researched tiny houses in Louisiana. And I came across a directory, but there was nothing in the directory, not a picture, except one woman's blog first steps would be. And I responded and said, my husband and I are thinking about building a business, building tiny houses in Orneville, and this is what we're going to be doing. From that one blog post, to date, I have over 70 people that have contacted me who are interested in a tiny house. As a marketer and a person who owns an advertising agency, with no paid effort, 70 people is a lot of people that are showing some kind of interest when there's no decent website. I mean, that's a lot of people, and that's not from a website or Facebook. So, what most of their questions are where can I put my tiny house? I would love to have one, but I don't know where to put it. And so from there were a lot of questions, and I thought to myself, we can't just build tiny houses. We have to help be an advocate for people who want to live tiny so that they can have the right voice and a group of people who support them and work as advocates for them, or it won't be successful. So that's kind of how we got into this next stage, which is what are the opportunities, and what are the opportunities particularly in St. Martin and St. Landry Parish? Because we truly believe that the rural communities of these two parishes have more opportunity than a city does. Because there's just, so here's some of the reasons why. So we believe that St. Martin and St. Landry has the opportunity to be at the forefront of the tiny house movement in the state of Louisiana. Because there are a whole host of people, not only here, but there are people around the country who have tiny houses and who live places for 3 to 6 months at a time and then move on to other markets. Okay, so they might live in Colorado a little while, they might live in Louisiana a while, and when you see the map, you'll see that there are people doing this all around the country, and there's a big void for the state of Louisiana. So these are the things that I think we have going for us. I didn't read this anywhere, I just made it up, but I think it's pretty accurate. I think that these two parishes we have good weather for the most part. Yes, it rains, but for the most part we have a mild climate. I don't know if all of us appreciate the Chaffalaya Basin like we should, because there are people who come from all over to experience the Chaffalaya Basin. And to be in close proximity to people who like to live from the earth, on the earth, being more sustainable, that is like a nature wonderland right there. I mean, we should really capitalize on that. We have a lot of quaint towns in these two parishes. You know, Orneville, Raincoteau, St. Martinville, Robridge, Opelousas, Washington. There's a lot of quaintness to some of these towns that we haven't really capitalized on completely. We have a rich cultural history, so people, just like the work that's being done here at NUNU, where people are coming to immerse themselves and reconnect with other French speakers, things like that, our music, our food. We have friendly people. And Lafayette was long considered a hub because we were the hub of all different types of people from all different places that came together. It wasn't just French Cajun people, right? It was Haitians, Germans, there were Spanish folks. So we have more of an openness to new people in this area. We are adjacent to major interstates, both I-49 and I-10, which is huge for people who are traveling and coming from another state and want to live or visit someplace for a period of time. We have, in these two parishes in particular, there's a lot of raw land. So there's a lot of opportunity for development. And we are in close enough proximity to larger cities for employment and healthcare and entertainment, because some of the folks that I read about who live tiny, they live like really remote. And then when they get a little older, which a lot of older people like to live tiny, then they're too far from the basics like healthcare and things like that. So I just put these maps. I know most of you in the room already know what St. Martin Parish looks like, but this is just, I'll put the map in there just to kind of show how I-10 runs through the middle and how close we are to the wildlife refuge. And of course, I know that there's just a ton of open land and raw land in the middle. And the same goes for St. Landry Parish that has a ton of raw land too. So, for those of you who may say, who actually lives in these things? So, 68% of tiny house people have no mortgage, and that's compared to only 29% of all U.S. homeowners. So most people who eventually live in a tiny house are mortgage free. And 2 out of 5 tiny house owners are over the age of 50. So there's about, now this was based on a study that was done by the American Tiny House Association. So you have 21% that are under 30 years old, 21% between 30 and 40, 18 between 40 and 50, and 38 over 50. I know from my own personal informal discussions with people that it's a lot of women, and it's a lot of women over the age of 40. They're either downsizing, they're taking care of aging parents, they want a simpler life. He would be a perfect example of that. We just had a conversation. She's from New Jersey and said, I want to live in a tiny house and moved here to do that and simplify my life. Perfect example. More women own tiny houses than men. The majority of tiny house dwellers have college degrees. I only say that because it seems like there are more educated bunch who have decided. The reason this is important is because the zoning issues that we're facing, people don't know what element of people are going to be in the tiny house. And so they're concerned about like who's in there. So it's kind of interesting to know, like, you know, most of these folks are college educated and have jobs. They're twice as likely to have a master's degree. The average per capita income is $42,000 a year, and 89% have less credit card debt than the average American. It's because they really are trying to minimize the stress of life. So, where do they live? Well, the tiny houses, 50% of the ones on wheels are in an RV park or someone else's backyard or in a community setting. 13% are on wheels or on their own land. 23% are on a foundation on their own land, and 14% are on a foundation in somebody's backyard or on a community setting. Oh, I don't know why this blows out like this, but this is a map of the United States, and this is like locations that are kind of tiny house friendly. And if you, in Louisiana, we only have one place that's like you can easily find, and it's in Covington. And it's an RV park that actually welcomes tiny house visitors. But other than that, I am sure that if we tried, we could probably stay at another RV park somewhere. But as far as advertising themselves as a place you can come and stay, that's the only one.
How do you define community setting? You mean
I'm going to
village set up just for
yes, and I'm going to show a picture of that. This is that first slide was like communities. This slide is on RV parks and sites. So if you notice, it's the same button, the same little icon in Louisiana. So we don't really have too much going on in Louisiana. You might have one-offs, people in different places, but a lot of these other locations in the country actually have developments and parks. So these are the opportunities that I think we have in these two parishes. Okay, so what I spoke of is rural raw land. So there's enough land that if you wanted to build a development of some sort, because they don't have to be that large in acreage. I'm thinking that you could get by with building, 5 acres to 10 acres. You could have a very nice development, possibly even less than that. This is what this little tiny house park is in Mount Hood, Oregon, and I just think it's so quaint and lovely. And you basically, I think they own all of these, and maybe people rent them. But you could do the same exact thing. You have community areas. Some of them have community buildings, And then you have your tiny houses around the outer edge, and people can rent space to stay there. So this is an opportunity. Another opportunity, did I spell neighborhood wrong? You know how much I hate that, right? Anyway, you can develop neighborhoods, so just an entire little development, and pocket neighborhoods. Now this is more for infill in cities. So let's just take Opelousas for example. If you had five lots that are adjacent to one another, and the great thing about being in a city, in a town, is that you already have electricity and plumbing and the infrastructure. So if you converted that and had a variance done on the zoning for that particular place and put tiny houses, like say 5 or 6, you could either subdivide and sell the space, or a developer could rent the space. And then you could really revitalize a little neighborhood by doing something like this. And so I guess what I'm here to tell you is that there are people interested in moving into your space. If a developer or someone wanted to do this, that is one of their biggest barriers, is having a place to put their tiny house. Again, this is infill. This actual project is actually for homeless. This was designed for to combat homelessness in city area, and taking adjudicated property or blighted property and converting it into homes for the homeless. I actually, during my research, found the same concept for veteran villages. So basically creating an area so veterans are all in the same location. Another option, just for the general, like any resident, any citizen of the two parishes, is that you could actually own a tiny house and use it as a vacation rental for tourism-related activity. This is one that I found on Airbnb, and from what I understand, these things are plenty on Airbnb, and people just rent them out to people visiting, especially during festival time and that kind of thing. Obviously, just having a single home on your property, and there's so many uses for that. I'll show you that in a second. Another thing here that's really become apparent is that we love camps and kitchens in Louisiana. And a lot of people have contacted me about, do you do camps? So we're definitely going to create a tiny camp and eventually a tiny outdoor kitchen, because people like that a whole lot. I don't know, when I first moved here from South Louisiana, I couldn't get over it. The guy working at the Lumberyard Jr., their house was on one end of the 5 acres of property, and the camp was on the other end, 5 acres away. And I was like, oh, they don't want to go to Destin, I don't guess. So they like camps. And I think this is a big opportunity. This actually is just a shot that I pulled from the internet, and I couldn't find one on mobile wheels, but I found out that through zoning, you have a lot of opportunity with auxiliary dwelling units in your backyard, which is something that can be approved. And if you take the wheels off of it and put a little deck around it, you have a good chance of being able to put one in your yard. The opportunities in backyards, like I imagine around UL, for example, in Lafayette, if someone could begin this movement, it's really important that the neighbors buy into this. And without seeing a tiny house, they can't imagine what that would look like, and they're worried about lessening their own property value. But if it were a really nice tiny house that was in your backyard, you could rent that to college students. I mean, these are the kinds of solutions they're doing in big cities. Like, my kids live in Atlanta, and I really think they're open to this in some of those older neighborhoods, because there's no place to go. I mean, you have to live in the city to work, but there's just not enough housing. So it kind of helps combat that. But you can use a tiny house as a mother-in-law suite, college student housing, a studio, a granny pod. We have things called she shacks now, where the mom has a place to get away from the family and hide. A man cave. I could put Jimmy out there playing his bass, so I wouldn't have to hear that blah, blah, blah thing all the time. Newlywed housing. outdoor kitchens. You could use it for rental income. Bunks. A lady contacted me about a bunk room because she didn't have enough space in her primary living facility and needed bedding for outside. So there's lots of opportunities with people who already have a home. I mean, I can imagine myself, look, I have a big house in Careco and I have a big yard. And if I were alone there, I wouldn't mind renting out something in the backyard to somebody because there would be somebody else on the property with me. I wouldn't be alone, so I kind of like that idea. Okay, so this is another big idea. And Amy Smallwood's not here, and she's a friend of NUNU, but she's the president of the Louisiana chapter of Tiny House Association, and she and George and I went to dinner one night, and she's talking about having a tiny house festival in New Orleans because that's where she is, and I'm fighting to have a tiny house festival here because I believe that we could definitely have this. I mean, basically, you would invite all these tiny house builders from around the country to come to one place. You open up the house and let people see it. You have food and music, and this would be a great way to start to introduce this. I mean, the Horse Farm in Lafayette is an awesome place. I mean, it's possible that they could move, they could go one location and then another, but that's a great opportunity as well. I find that when you read about tiny houses, they'll tell you which communities around the country are more tiny house friendly. And so my whole, thank you. I'm like a real speaker now, I have water. Thank you. So anyway, I think that's enough. I think this is an opportunity to increase knowledge of the movement. So the challenges that I've come across, so I'm not going to get into all of these challenges because the more I read about it, the heavier they become. But coding is obviously a challenge because there's a man that I read about, Andrew Morrison, who nationally is working on, I guess it's an adjustment or an addendum to the international residential coding laws. And they actually now, as of December, have a component of that, of those coding regulations that address the needs of tiny houses. So there are people that are working on this right now, and thankfully Ted and Jimmy and a local inspector and some different folks are really trying to determine exactly what code we're going to actually follow. Zoning is a big issue because in cities, you have zoning that's already in place. In rural areas, we have a lot more flexibility. And therefore, that's why I think you guys have a lot more opportunity. Locations and placement is the single biggest thing that has been asked of me. I want to build one, but I don't know where to put it. So this is something that can be addressed as a community. And of course, utilities have to do with, if you're on a single piece of land, you have to now have power, you have to have a sewage treatment plant, whereas if you were in a city and you could use the infrastructure of the city or the town, then that would be advantageous as an opportunity. Grouping them together seems to be a smart thing to do because then you're sharing some of that cost and responsibility. I actually didn't know this, and I guess you all who work in development know this better than me, but what I learned over the last week or so is that neighborhood concern is actually one of the biggest hurdles to get over. That zoning is not as quite as difficult as you would think compared to having neighbors agree and not fight the fact that you want to do something different. And I think I just met Brittany, who contacted me over the internet, and we made friends that way, and she was talking about, you know, what she and her boyfriend went through trying to go through the zoning process in Lafayette, and she's here because she wants to group with people, like-minded folks, to try to work on that particular issue. Insurance doesn't seem, there are actually insurance companies that will insure these, and there are financing companies that will finance them. So that's not as big an obstacle, but I think that it's not common. So you have to find we hope to be a resource on our website. We're going to have a whole resource page that actually drives people to certain resources to help them find these kind and answer these kind of questions, because these are difficult questions. Okay, so to end my presentation, I'm just encouraging people to think outside of the box. And how could the tiny house movement make a potential economic and social impact on you and your family and your community? Like, how could you use some of the ideas that you learned today, and how could you share this with other people, and how could we begin to think about this from a broader perspective? Because for me, it's not just about selling these houses. It's about building community and having an alternative for folks, because for some people, this is the right way to live. For many of us, I think for myself, a tiny house would be a great second living option for me. A primary living option, it probably wouldn't be the right thing for me. But if I were younger or single, maybe so. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity out there, and you have to think about all of the different options you have. So that's what I'm here to tell you about today. So that's it.
I have a question for you. Could you tell us a little bit also part of after everything's up and running and moving along? I think you had mentioned a possibility of maybe doing something at the facility that would have music, or the community area where people could come and gather, and how important and why that's important to you.
Well, George has plenty of ideas about this, because we have our facility is pretty big. It's 15,000 square feet. We have an outside area. And some of the commitments I've made to him is to have like a build when we're building, when the French Immersion School comes to be, that folks could come there and participate in the build in French only. And I'm actually locating my French speakers to work on that project has not been difficult. But it's getting up and running and getting the school up and running, right? As far as community development, we do have plans to have activities there, particularly for people who are trying to advocate tiny house movement. There are lots of ideas. I think that the challenge, right, for me, it's like the first step is I have to get the business up and running, and I have to build one. I mean, so we're going to be starting the next couple of weeks to get the first one built, and there's been a lot up to now. So it's kind of, I don't want to promise things yet on that until we can get going. But so many things. We talked about doing a tiny house concert series out there. We talked about having, I definitely want to have an apprenticeship program. That's something I really believe in. I would like to have younger people that could work with older carpenters and learn the skills of carpentry, because I think that's kind of a dying thing. So that's something I'm really passionate about. So, and I know that Ted and I have discussed, hiring people who are in need, disadvantaged workers, things like that. So we have a lot of those kinds of social ideas. But as far as like when the first party is going to be,
Thank you.
Yeah, I apologize if you've already answered this question because I came in late. But I'm from the Northwest, and I'm a little familiar with tiny houses, but I've never seen one on wheels before. They're always, I guess they didn't invent the wheel in Portland yet. But my question is, what is the differentiation between a travel trailer, for example, and a tiny house? They both seem to be similar sizes.
I think it has to do with the materials they're constructed out of, because RVs are constructed to be more like wind aerodynamic sort of, but the materials they're constructed out of are not as long lasting as a tiny house is. So a tiny house is really designed to be a little bit more of a permanent residence, and it's an alternative to. I don't think it's. I did say this. I don't think it's right for everyone if you're traveling a lot. But if you're stationary, and you're going to have a lot better luck with a stationary house, tiny house, to be in a community, blends better in a community, in a neighborhood architecturally than a travel trailer would. So you know, if a person like you were coming to see me, I'd ask you questions like, what are you planning, how are you planning to live? Because if you're traveling a whole lot, then a travel trailer and an RV would probably be a much better fit. Because then you can travel with them, but I think that's a more of a limited kind of thing, like you go somewhere for 3 months, go somewhere other place for 3 months.
Yeah. I think I have some of the answers to that.
Yeah, I've done a little studying on this too, and RVs have different certifications. So, and then another, let's see, the other consideration would be, what I realized right away was, if you're going to make it as home-like as possible, usually the weight is an issue, and like RVs are made with a lot of aluminum, and you can do that with a tiny home as well. There's a lot of similarities there, but you can rack up quite a fuel bill. You will be getting like about 5 miles per gallon when you're going down the road in one of those the tiny homes. So for myself, I was thinking I don't own land, so I'll have it on wheels. Maybe every couple of years I can take it and go. So anyway, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. I see.
Have you done any research with regards to individuals interested that may have a child and a single mother? Because I think the income would fit perfectly with probably what they make. I was just wondering if you only do for single individuals or those people with a child?
Well, there have been a few people who've contacted me that way, and that's something like Ted. Ted's actually working on a design of a tiny house too, and he has a nice one that's being designed. I definitely think we have to have one of those as an option where there's more than one sleeping space. And another option too is having sleeping space on the down floor, so that single moms are really a good market for this too. I mean, they would be. And so it's just a matter of, there's so many options of what you could build, right? So yes, the answer is yes. I think that would be a good market.
Question regarding heights, because it talks about limited in terms of heights. Like,
Yes, I think it's 13.6.
13 and a half.
13.6 is going to be our target height. 14 feet, I believe, is the actual DOTD. Bill, you can probably tell us. I think it's 14. You have to have a 14-foot maximum height to clear overpasses. And the width is 102-inch maximum.
Am I right to think that for tiny house there are more expectations regarding sustainability or energy efficiency or quality of insulation that is used
Yes, and
compared
I'm
with
not even
RV?
really talking about that. My son has a degree in environmental management, and he lives in Atlanta, and he works for the National Park Service. But this is his passion and his contribution to our project. Our first project, we are just going to build the first UPC, but definitely our goal is to integrate green building materials, investigating the use of solar, investigating and using products that are, don't have a negative environmental impact. I'm not speaking about it much right now because I'm not yet an expert on that, but I do know that it's important, like particularly even with the use of propane versus electricity and conversion and living off the grid and those kinds of things. So those are definitely, there's a whole group of people who are extremely interested in that. And that's one of the reasons why they want to go tiny, right? So I think that it's going to be a progression for us. That's about the best answer I have.
I live in St. Bernard Parish and found Arnoville evacuated after Katrina. And been going to all of these coastal meetings and sitting here in this room surrounded by like these climate change posters. It makes me think that, our state has this master plan, the coastal master plan, right? And now they're talking about non-structural adaptation, which means like bulldoze your house, you sell it to the state, you relocate, or you raise your house or whatever. the reality is that people are going to be fleeing from the coast again. I mean, anytime we have to evacuate, we have to go somewhere. And I think that these tiny homes offer a really alternative solution to evacuation. You know, maybe you don't want to ride out the storm in your tiny home, but for somebody who doesn't want to be far away from home, or, you know, if we're in this time now of transitioning from the coast and people having to kind of retreat and return, or whatever that might look like in the next couple of years, I think that tiny homes have a really great, and tiny businesses have a really great opportunity to kind of tap into that transition.
I'm really glad that you really brought that up, because it should be part of the conversation that we have. I'm actually from Empire, which is the little tip of Louisiana that hangs down into the Gulf of Mexico. And my whole family's community, in our home, our business, my dad's business, everything was completely wiped out in Katrina. We have since built a camp. My brother has a camp there that's 14 foot off the ground on the waterfront. And there's not many of, they don't allow for a lot of building down there anymore. I mean, you have to go through a lot of mitigation, or you're just not allowed for it unless it's very high in the air. Well, he has some property, and I thought about this with this. I said, you know, if we want to go down there and finish and have our own camp, well, you can put a tiny house next door, and guess what? Threat of hurricane, we just pull one out. But it still aesthetically looks nice, fits in with the whole environment. I even talked to some folks who had some property in Karen Road. I don't know where it is, but it's low lying, and certain times of the year it's underwater, and other times of the year it's not. And the guy uses the property to hunt on, and he said, I could use one of these, because when the water goes up, I just move it out. And so, to your point, that's definitely, especially, you know, where we live, right? Thank you for bringing that up.
I just want to say, as a civil engineer and now a public official as well, I can't say how much we appreciate that this is not a government project. That this, thank you and your family for making this investment. I think it's, personally, I think it's very wise. It comes from, I think you would agree, from the effort here to use arts, culture,
the idea to actually
idea of French movement. This is what happens when you get people together, good intentions, good spirit, and smart people. So I can't thank you enough for making that investment in our community, you and your family.
Thank you
very much.
Bill. Thank you.
And anything we can do to support.
Okay, good. Just find some place that we can have a little development.
Yeah, we'll try to make the codes easy.
There you go. Okay, now we know who to talk to then.
Yes, and I do serve on the Acadiana Planning Commission, so maybe we can work this thing regionally.
That would be awesome.
You said something about, like, people are working on coding for the needs of small tiny houses. Is that something that we, like, is there a sample we can roll into our existing code?
So, you know what I was planning to do? Her question is, this one fellow in particular, Andrew Morrison, and I think you went to a seminar that he did. They're hosting a coding and zoning conference nationally in New Orleans in November, and basically bringing people from all over the country to discuss coding and zoning for tiny houses. But I was actually thinking, talking about the use of our space, we actually have in the back of the lumber yard, we have a room that's probably half the size of this room, or a little bigger. Ted, what do you think? And that's air conditioned. It's a big meeting. The showroom behind our showroom. In fact, I think of it looks like a roller skating rink to me. But I said, these are the kind of things that I would love to do, is bring Andrew in and have local officials, inspectors, planners. I mean, Habitat's interested in this, UL Architecture's interested in this, there's lots of people, right? Carly's interested in it, and have somebody who's a national expert who's been studying and working on this come and talk to us and see what we can adopt from what he's learned too. So I'm totally heading down that path. I asked Kate to write down questions. I'm glad she's not giving me all of them at once. I said, you know, difficult questions that you might have after this talk so that I can research it. But thank you for not very long. Thank you. Okay, so Ted, do you have anything you wanted to add, or? email newsletter, and we are definitely in a few weeks. Ted and I and Jimmy anticipate that the first bill is probably going to take 2 months, a little more than that, maybe 3, I guess, for the first one, because there's a lot of kinks to work out. After that, we really believe we can build them in like 8 weeks. But we are going to have, this is something I am committed to doing. I might not have told Ted this yet. Ted's we're going to have a tour though. Like when we're halfway finished with the build, we're going to have a day, like a Saturday from 9 to 12, where we take people through and see the build and ask questions about it and kind of visit the facility. That's something I really want to do. So if you'd like to be invited to that, if you sign up for our newsletter, I'll let you know when it's happening. You're more than welcome to come and eat some of Verna's beignets that I'm going to have. Just need that, buy that deep fryer. Okay, well thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you still. My name is Beth Guidry, and I'm the Director of Economic Development here in St. Mark Parish, and I'm happy to be able to claim NUNUs as one of our own. Cherie has been a huge partner for us, not only with St. Luke's and the rebranding that we've gone through with that, but also with this new creative idea with the tiny houses in Arnaville. And it's people like that that I think make us who we are. It makes our culture unique. It's not something that you can duplicate anywhere else in the U.S., and dare I say the world. So I know she stepped out, she had to take off, but I just want to say thank you personally on behalf of myself, on behalf of Brandy with St. Landry Economic Development, Bill Rodier, my counterpart, Mr. Bill, all the other stakeholders that have been a part of this process for us. So with that, my presentation today with you is going to be about something called the Futures Fund. Just by a show of hands, how many of you are familiar with what the Futures Fund is? Perfect. Okay, so when George and I were talking about today's events, we thought about this concept. And actually, I was just like you not long ago. I didn't know much about it, but that's a good thing, because when I did start to learn about it and I did start looking into it and doing a little bit of research, it's something very innovative and cool that I think we could do for this area. The Futures Fund is currently in existence in the Baton Rouge area. In just a bit, I'll show you the number of partners that they have, but essentially, it is a workforce development program, very industry-based, where we identify school-age children, preferably maybe 8th grade into the high school age, that are on some sort of public assistance. In this particular case, Baton Rouge identified children that were on school lunch assistance program through the school board. And those children are brought in to help them with workforce development needs. Very creative program, as you can see here. The Futures Fund is a workforce program. It has a digital, literary, visual, and performing arts piece. It's geared towards that particular age, middle school and high school kids. It provides these students with training in these particular areas under the guidance of paid professionals. So that could be anyone from the workforce sector that has a particular training need and they want to get these kids ready for workforce once they hit graduation age. Or it could be an instructor from LSU, for instance, that has a background in coding and HTML, and these children are interested in doing that sort of thing. And then, again, it's currently underway in the Baton Rouge area. What we'd like to try to do is start this conversation with you all here today as key stakeholders in our community, as people that are interested in economic development. If we were to get something like this started in St. Martin and St. Landry Parish, and particularly even all of Acadiana, how would we do it? I think it's safe to say that the Baton Rouge project, the Futures Fund, currently underway, has been in existence for a number of years. It's been very successful. They have a proven track record of students that once they've graduated have gone on to do internships with different companies, like IBM, for instance, and they've been able to get a successful career going at a relatively young age, doing something that they enjoy, and being able to identify these children that are disadvantaged in some way,
brings them up and out of a situation where they may not have had that opportunity. The Futures Fund, again, is a workforce development program. The hope is that these programs create workforce-ready skills. It helps to build confidence in these children. The number of people that I've spoken to about this initiative, workforce is a piece of it, but it's the confidence building that these children go through because you're allowing them to realize something in themselves that maybe they've never known before. And so there is an opportunity for them to build their artistic capability, maybe shine a light on their entrepreneurial skills. It's hands-on, it's industry-driven, and they're showing that these results are starting to become lasting. It takes a number of years to see the residual from it, but they're finally getting to a point where they've got some sort of track record in place that they can show success. The Futures Fund is going to equip our students, again, with digital and visual arts, entrepreneurial skills, and it's typically an 8-week course done during the summer. Active participation is resulting in students' ability to articulate the importance of coding or photography, for instance, and it empowers them with that skill set for a business type setting. Students engage with these business professionals before and after class instruction. And the direct introduction to revenue generating opportunities is what sets the Futures Fund apart. So in just a bit, I'll show you from their website just an idea of what their scheduled events are. So for instance, they can take a high school student, teach them how to use a digital camera, invite them to go to an event like this, take photos, and then they sell those photos at an art gallery or something along those lines. And it's very rewarding for these children to see from beginning to end something that they've worked on, something that they've had their hands in, that they've become very passionate about. And in turn, they're able to take that skill set, market themselves, and I'm told that some of the best case scenarios for the Future Fund is that some of these children are making a good bit of money now because they've learned how to use that camera, and they've learned how to, probably manipulate the photos and do some crafting on Adobe or that sort of thing after the fact to really make themselves marketable. Just to kind of go over these real quick, the digital arts program is teaching coding in order to put these students, middle and high school, on a path to college or some sort of career in technology. After completing the coding program, these youth are directed to opportunities that will allow them to demonstrate their mastery in that particular skill. So this is very much a partnership between the workforce needs that are currently out there, and in this case, technology is obviously one of our growing sectors and has always been. And it takes that particular student from a readiness, if you will, to I'm ready to apply for a job because I've had an internship with you during the summer months and I have that skill set now. The visual arts program, again, is a photography program. It allows our students to gain that knowledge, get a mastery level, if you will, of the program, and then hopefully apply for internships for companies that would be willing to work with them. And then there's a literary arts program and a performing arts program that they're actually working on as we speak, and should be coming soon. This is the website. I kind of wanted to mention to you some of the immediate events that they have going on. I thought it was really cool. Let's see. Oh, let me go back. And so what you'll see here is, hold on. Get to see what I'm searching for. Oh, now it tells me I'm not connected. Oh well. Well, I have my Wi-Fi on though. Technical difficulties, I'll tell you. Bear with me 1 second. This is just a quick snapshot of what they have scheduled. So as you can see, coming up at the end of May, this was last year, but basically it's the same thing. They have a child who's going to be displaying their art at a particular art gallery. They have student showcases on coding. It's all geared towards either the community college system or in this particular case, LSU. They have a big partnership with LSU. Lots of different family foundations. But as you can tell, they're just engaging these children in something that they've probably never experienced. So how do we get this started? If it's something that we think we're interested in, there's a buy-in that needs to take place, not just on a local level, but on an industry level, from the school board who should participate, to your industries who want to be able to engage these children at an early age. And so as you can see here, we need to create a team. And later this afternoon after lunch, we're going to have some panel discussions about how to get this done. So just sort of keep this in the back of your mind while you're eating lunch. Think about, if we were to be part of this process, if I could dip my finger in this, what would my impact be? And that's sort of where we want you to think. We need to identify those curriculum instructors, participating businesses, create a willing board of directors to help spearhead this effort. It'd be great if we could identify a funding source to get someone to help champion this effort, but you've got to have a functioning board of very valuable stakeholders in the community to get it going. And then create a call to volunteer, of course. And just as an example, these are some of the partners that the Futures Fund has. And I actually had to cut it off because it was so many. But you can clearly see in the number of years that they've been in existence, I seriously doubt that without a successful track record, these entities here would have stuck around. So I think the important part of it is that BRAC was actually one of the founding fathers, if you will, of this effort, which is the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. We now have a very vibrant One Acadiana chapter here in our particular area that I think could champion this effort. And then we also have the Community Foundation of Acadiana, which I think could play some sort of positive role in this as well. There's a lot of people who I think have foundation funds at that particular organization that would love to invest in this sort of thing. And what you're really paying for is your instructors. You're paying for someone's time. You're paying for a classroom setting. A lot of these classrooms that are done in Baton Rouge are done at SLCC's campus, or not SLCC, but their community college campus, because there's an existing computer lab. So it's that sort of investment, if you will, of maybe not just necessarily someone's time, but a room, and engaging those partners to do something like this. I'll leave you with this quick thought so we can talk later. Based on the 2015 study done by the Annie E. Casey Foundation, roughly 33% of our children here in the state live in a household that receives some sort of public assistance. So if we were today to go out and identify those middle school and high school children that we think could qualify, put all their names in the pot, you're looking at 33% of our children. So I think there's a wonderful need for this. I'm glad that I was able to present to you on it because it wasn't something I was familiar with, but now that I am, this is a sobering statistic, and as economic developers and what we do every day, it's great to have property, it's great to have incentives, it's great to have a culture and a way of life that just easily sells itself. But when you don't have a workforce that's readily available and has a skill set that's necessary for our businesses to locate, we're really just spinning our wheels. So I do look forward to hearing your conversation later this afternoon in the form of a panel discussion, because I really think this is something that we can look into doing, and while it may take a couple of years, there's that old saying that you plant a tree today so that your children can sit under it and not you. So if you kind of keep that in mind, I really appreciate giving you the opportunity to hear me today, and I think that's it.
I'm gonna wait for the panel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's very much,
Yeah.
Food for thought.
Yeah.
and I think it would speak poorly of our culture if we don't start with our own generation here and invest in something like this.
Yeah, well, one thing that I think we're fortunate of, because the more research I did in the Baton Rouge area, they have a huge crime rate. They have a lot of our kids that are on the street in that particular area. We're lucky that we maybe don't have those numbers here in Acadiana, but we could. And I think what this has done is, yes, it's a workforce piece for Baton Rouge, but even more so, it's a help us to get above and out of the situation that you're in, so that we can show you a better way. So it really is a morale booster for these children. And I think for us, it could do the same thing. So, yeah, to that point, I don't know when's the time for us to ask for this sort of investment. I'm told by the director of the Futures Fund, Casey Phillips, that there is a plan in place to bring something here, but they've not presented the opportunity because of the economy and the situation that we're in. They just don't want to have to go back to local businesses and say, hey, what could your monetary contribution be? Because that really is what it takes. It takes money. So when the timing is right and we can strike, I think conversations like this today is going to get us to a point where we can be prepared to go and make that ask. Because they are looking to duplicate this effort across the state, and they've already identified our area as prime for something like that. So he couldn't be here with us today, but he's very excited, and I'm going to take lots of wonderful notes from this afternoon's panel so that we can take that back to him, because he's just as curious to see what the ideas are as well. So thank y'all very much. I'm going to introduce Brandy. She's with St. Landry Economic Development. We're going to have a slight break to plug in a flash drive, and hopefully it works. So nobody go anywhere. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having me. My name is Brandy Ledette. I'm with St. Landry Economic Development. Bill Rodier, our executive director, had another commitment this morning, so I'll be filling in for him today, but he will be here this afternoon for our roundtable discussion. Today I want to talk to you guys about creative placemaking. It means a lot to a lot of people in the area based off of our culture and our community assets and what we have to offer here. So I just want to briefly introduce the concept. The definition can be different in terms of the individual that you speak to, but I'll just give you guys my interpretation of it, as well as let you guys in on the placemaking task force that we have within St. Landry Parish, and get you guys up to speed on a few projects we've identified through that task force. And then this afternoon for the roundtable discussion, those members will actually be on hand to speak about the recent progress, next steps, and what we've accomplished thus far, and answer any questions from you guys that you may have. So creative placemaking, in my opinion, placemaking is placemaking through public spaces. So what does that mean? It's identifying your community assets within your respective community and working with community leaders, business leaders in that area to reinvent those assets that you have identified in order to bring people to that area. This is a definition. I'll let you guys take a look at it. It kind of encompasses what I've said as a whole, of just identifying what you already have existing and building upon that to drive people to those respective areas. The placemaking task force that we've created within St. Landry Parish, it's comprised of Arnaville, Grangerton, and Sunset currently. The idea started, we were initially called a Merchants Alliance. And the idea came from local communities in the area, such as George Marks. And we were looking for a way to drive traffic off the interstate into those areas like Arnaville, Grangerton, and Sunset, because they're in such close proximity of each other, and they have great things to offer, such as art galleries, shops, restaurants, things of that nature. We were looking to drive that traffic, and we thought by working collectively as a group, we could make a larger impact than trying to work
respectively in each of those communities. So we're looking for a collaborative effort to bring those 3 communities together. As well as Grand Coteau is an historical district, Ornerville is an historical district, as well as Sunset. So with that being said, we look at it as a cultural connection and how to connect those 3 together. Some of the existing assets that we currently have to build upon within our area. We have the Bayou Teche, which runs through each of those 3 respective municipalities I stated earlier. I know that in the future, the Bayou Teche will be looked at as a future placemaking project just because of the opportunities that we have to build upon there. We have active arts organizations throughout those 3 communities, NUNU's where we're currently sitting being one of them. Like I said, we have the historical districts, cultural districts, and we also have the team of dedicated leaders that make up our placemaking task force that are going to be influential in getting these projects off the ground. And here I just have a few images of our cultural districts in the area for you guys to see if you aren't familiar with where they're located throughout the towns, for you guys to see here. Projects. We have 4 projects that our placemaking task force has identified thus far. The first project, I'll give you guys a little bit of history on it, and like I stated earlier, that round table is going to give you a more in-depth view of each project. Our first project that we're currently actively working on is called the Hanging Garden Project. George Marks is taking lead on that project along with other members of the task force that are working collectively on making this come to fruition. We have partnered with Design Precast and Pipe. Many of you might have noticed it on your way into NUNU's. The idea behind this project, we met with the CEO and we were looking for ways to connect cultural with the business economy. These culverts that you see here from Design Precast and Pipe, they're speaking with the CEO. Any culvert that has any kind of indention that can't be used moving forward with their respective projects, they don't use them. So we were looking for ways to partner with local industry, with the arts community. So what we came up with through Design Precast and Pipe is any of the defective culverts, we're going to take and place them along the Highway 93 corridor as you're coming in and build somewhat of an artscape. George has reached out and we're going to do a call to artists to have local artists come and paint murals across the defective culverts to create a fence or an artscape, so to speak, as you're coming into Highway 93. We've also partnered with Louisiana Culture entity. They've been of great assistance. Ms. Cheryl Castillo is active in helping us moving forward with this project as well. And later on this afternoon, we'll have an update on where we're currently at with that process. A second project we've identified under our task force is the St. Luke's Hospital. I'm not going to go too much into depth with regards to that. I know Tuesday was dedicated to the St. Luke's Hospital, so I'm sure a lot of you guys have received a lot of information from that. But as Ms. Jackie attested to earlier, we're looking to make it a French immersion and culture campus. Third project we recently identified. Has anybody been to the Sunset Recreational Club off of 182? It was a former renowned cockfighting arena. This is a picture of it inside. It seats roughly 690 individuals. It has stadium-sized seating. If you ever get a chance to stop by, Jerry DiMaggio, who has repurposed the building, will be here this afternoon for the roundtable. It is truly amazing. When I walked in, you would never think something like this existed in our parish. And we're looking for ways to repurpose that building. It's a great community asset. He's redone the seating. We're looking at things such as local theater performances, unplugged musical events, and things of that nature. It also is on spacious acreage and also has 18 RV hookups. So you could also do some sort of overnight festival because they have the ability for people to stay overnight. It's just a great, great gym that we've recently identified, and we'll be looking at focus groups, possibly partnering with UL students to see what they have in mind to try to get this building back in commerce. So that's a newly identified project that we're really excited about.
Where is it, Randy?
It's off of 182, located in Sunset. So if you're coming from Lafayette, you take Sunset Mercantile exit, and then you turn on Napoleon, take a right, continue to go down a little ways, maybe about 2 miles, and it's a large building, and there's a brown wooden fence that runs across it. And Mr. DiMaggio will be here later on this afternoon, and I know he's willing to do tours. He's open, to show and any ideas you guys may have this afternoon, because it really is something to see once you walk in. There's actually a space in the front, as well as once you walk through the arena to the back, where you can host reception and things of that nature. And it's built similar to the Black Coliseum, as you can walk all around it throughout the bottom part of the building. And the fourth project we've identified as a task force is the Farmer Sunset High School. It's all currently on the historical registry. Mayor James sits on our task force, and he is leading on this project. What his intent is currently, and there's been great buy-in from the community, is to create a charter school with French immersion as the main focus, with emphasis on grades K through 4th. We feel like this would be a great feeder to the St. Luke's, as it would be for more of college kids and that nature. So we're looking to bring that to Sunset, and he'll be here later on this afternoon to give an update on that as well. The K through 4th would not just be for St. Landry Parish. We're either looking to recruit and transport from Lafayette and then surrounding areas as well. So those are the 4 projects that our placemaking task force has identified. And as you can see, going back to the initial interpretation of creative placemaking, we've identified some assets in our community, and we're looking to drive people to those respective areas, bring in commerce, which in turn would, create a smaller creative economy within those 3 respective areas. Moving forward, we're also looking to identify more projects in St. Martin Parish as well, to partner up with them, to get Beth on board in the task force also. And moving forward, we meet monthly, on a monthly basis. We continue to be creative. We're roughly 12 to 15 members throughout those 3 communities. We're going to keep on working with the initiatives. We're also going to be looking for funding mechanisms to put in place, and hopefully turn into a 501c3 or a C6 in the near future. And we have a great team of leaders, and we're just going to continue to build on their passion for improving the community. And they look forward to being here this afternoon and get some input from you guys that possibly help them moving forward as well. So that concludes my presentation. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
I have a question. How wide across is that arena? Do you know? 20 feet or, yeah.
It's moving.
So,
He'll be here.
Mr. Bill, what do you
Got a
think?
good round room. I mean, it's
Just the arena space.
Yeah, the arena space, a good 100 feet, maybe more.
100 feet, that big? Okay.
So it's not as large as Black.
Oh, no. But it goes
It's
up,
a miniature.
it goes up roughly 14 rows.
Right, I was just wondering how big the center was, like you were saying, staging and stuff like that. Would it be larger? Because that looks so cool. Have you ever been to the Abbeville Little Theater?
No, ma'am.
Abbeville Little Theater is seated. It's 3 sides. It's 3 sides.
So is it a round building or square?
Yes, well,
It's a the building's square when you walk in.
You can do theater in that easy.
And we're looking to possibly bring school events, because
Yeah,
students,
that's
wherever
the
you
word.
sit,
Yeah.
you have a direct view, which is more better for them to stay
So
engaged.
it has a concrete floor?
Yes.
and it has a back dressing rooms.
Okay.
It's really you
Interesting.
wouldn't think when you drive by it's a metal building, you'd think maybe they stored potatoes in there or something,
Yeah.
produce, but it's really impressive.
So what's the condition of it? Is it
Good.
Mr. DiMaggio
Interesting, huh?
put a lot of money into
Oh, he did.
upgrading the seating, You know, the front entrance, back entrance, there's bar area. It's just trying to find the right niche to what would be best in that area because there's nothing like it. It's really amazing.
So it had to look like this.
Yeah.
Circus, because like, I've seen shows of like, not with anime, like.
Right.
It's like same Sunday.
And that's a great idea. That's you know that's why they're coming this afternoon because any input we can get. And no, we hadn't thought of that, but I'll definitely keep that on my radar. Thank you.
Yes, and like Katie just reminded me, it was a cockfighting arena, which was kind of all under the radar at the time. And so now that's been outlawed. And so there's no more.
It was a world renowned, and that's one of the things where we're trying to not focus on so much because of the cockfighting and the humanitarian piece in terms of that. So we're really trying to move away and kind of rebrand it and get its own identity. So.
There was no longer a
Right.
cockfighting out. It's all about entertainment of people's time.
Yes, sir. Any other questions?
Are they starting to work on the whole sunset high building? Underground.
No, sir, not yet. I know currently they would have to get the concept approved through the school board. And if the school board hasn't decided that they would have to go to the BESI board, the state board. And until that could be approved, they would have to go in and start doing some maintenance. But I know Mayor James indicated that they did a full walkthrough and there's no major damage or detriment to the building, such as molding and things of that nature. He said it's in very, very, very good condition.
Yeah, I worked with Orkin last year, we went and inspected it. Some termite damage, but all the.
Right, but yeah.
There's a lot to work with there.
Yeah.
They were supposed to do office, just offices for the city.
They had looked at that in the offices at the top and then.
There's still some open ideas about business at the bottom floor, residents.
It's a beautiful little building.
Yeah, it really is.
Once they redo it.
Any other questions? Thank you guys so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for giving me the opportunity